The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Florida Man News, the worst headlines from the Sunshine State on the Florida Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joel Lounds. Coming up in this episode, Florida Man plays a super realistic version of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, Florida women get into a drunken brawl, Florida Man hacks a fast pass but now lacks access, and an interview with a classic rock superstar who has a new song about Florida Man. Plus, Florida Man trivia, and much, much more. Our lead story tonight. Fans of Orlando theme parks operated by the Walt Disney Corporation are aware of the Fast Pass feature, where visitors to Disney World could reserve a time when they could come back to a ride and spend a shorter time waiting in line. Superfans of the mouse magnate know that the program was phased out last year in favor of a new program called Disney Genie Plus, where guests could pay $15 extra per day per person on top of the arm and leg that Disney normally charges, and reserve a specific ride time using the new Lightning Lane feature for the one percenters. But one Florida man found a third program that lets VIPs skip the lines. Unfortunately for us normies, you need to be a Disney cast member with a corporate app installed on a company device to be able to access that queue. How did this Florida man schedule his tour group on multiple rides without waiting in line? That's what a Disney investigator wanted to know when he observed the Florida man and his party attempt to skip the line at the Tower of Terror. The investigator ejected the group from the ride and followed them to the parking lot with an off-duty deputy, where he discovered the Florida man possessed a stolen Disney iPad with the internal software on it. The non-Caribbean pirate admitted to using the iPad, but was told that it was given to him by his boss, named Tony, and did not realize that it was stolen. Local police arrived and returned the iPad to the investigator, who acknowledged that he had had dealings with Tony in the past, but did not elaborate. Tony's employee got off easy, as the iPad was never reported stolen and he was not arrested. However, Disney issued a trespass for all Disney properties, which will likely affect the Florida man's job as a third-party tour guide. In Return to Sender news, employees at the Hernando County Courthouse alerted deputies in February when they received a letter informing them of a bomb in the courthouse. The courthouse was immediately evacuated. Traffic in and around the courthouse was also diverted, and deputies proceeded to conduct a thorough search of the courthouse and the surrounding area. They located a suspicious device in proximity to the courthouse. The Citrus County Hazardous Devices team was called in to examine the suspicious device. Once the device was deemed safe, it was removed from the area and the courthouse was reopened to the public. Now, the investigators had to determine who placed the bomb and mailed the note to the courthouse. Usually, this involves technical forensic investigation such as DNA swabs or fingerprint analysis, but this case was a little bit easier for deputies to solve because the perpetrator included his name and return address on the envelope. Investigators got another break when searching for the Florida man in question. They didn't even have to go to his house to arrest him, as he was already being held in the Hernando County Detention Center on an attempted murder charge. The ardent author also sent another letter threatening a bomb to his own attorney's office, doubling the detention he would deal with for the deadly dispatches. He was charged with making a bomb threat and 2 counts of written threats to kill, on top of the charge he was originally arrested for. And in At Least He Still Has His Ears news, a Florida man made headlines recently with one of the dumbest viral videos ever filmed. The Punta Gorda man was on a JetBlue flight from San Francisco to Miami and noticed that his seat was directly behind former heavyweight world champion boxer Mike Tyson. The Florida man's friend filmed as Tyson agreed to take a selfie with the Florida man, but the video shows the man continuing to harass the convicted rapist. Eventually, the former Nintendo big boss turned the Florida man into Little Mac and pummeled him over the back of his airplane seat. A later clip shows the man frowning with bloody wounds on his temple while his friend laughs at him. Since the altercation took place while the plane was still on the ground, the option to charge Tyson for assault was in the hands of the San Mateo County District Attorney, who declined. The Florida man received his sentence for the event immediately. In Dirty Deleter news, a Florida woman awaits sentencing after she, quote, rampaged her former employer's computer systems after they fired her. The St. Petersburg woman was previously the head of human resources for a Manhattan-based firm, but was fired for failing to meet the standards of her job. In one case, she retaliated against another employee after a disagreement by downgrading their computer access. In a move that the company should have anticipated, the rancorous representative was able to log into the network after she had been escorted from the building and spent the next 2 days sabotaging the system. Over 17,000 job applications and resumes were deleted by the Florida woman, and she left profane messages for her former coworkers. The company told prosecutors that the systems she decimated took over 2 years and $100,000 to develop, and they spent another $100,000 investigating what happened and rebuilding the platform, although they were unable to fully recover all the data she deleted. Quote, her actions wiped out information vitally important to the employer and cost the company money and time to repair, unquote, U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss said in a statement. The Florida woman was found guilty of 1 count of intentionally causing damage to a protected computer, 1 count of accessing a protected computer, and recklessly causing damage. She is currently awaiting sentencing unless someone logs into the court computer system and deletes her records. And now it's time for our weekly Florida Man trivia question. Here's the question. On Thanksgiving Day of 1883, most of this Florida city's downtown area was burned to the ground. The city encouraged residents to rebuild using brick and steel instead of lumber, prompting its nickname Brick City. Name that Florida city. I'll have the answer and my interview with our celebrity guest after this message from our sponsor.
Flintstone Media has been the digital messaging bedrock of several brands and businesses, serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house and consultancy firm for over 6 years. Visit flintstonemedia.com for podcast samples. From show development and setup through recording and distribution, work with a leader in the industry and add a new podcast to your brand's content offerings. That's flintstonemedia.com.
And now, the answer to the Florida Man trivia question. Once again, that question was, on Thanksgiving Day of 1883, most of this Florida city's downtown area was burned to the ground. The city encouraged residents to rebuild using brick and steel instead of lumber, prompting its nickname Brick City. Name that Florida city. The answer is Ocala. Ocala is also known as the horse capital of the world and is home to the Horse Radio Network, who recently invited me on as a guest. If you'd like to listen to that episode, there will be a link in the episode notes, or go to horsesinthemorning.com and find episode 2921. If you'd like to sponsor Florida Man Trivia, go to floridapodcastnetwork.com/contact and send us a message today. I'm excited to bring you this next segment because it is our first guest on Florida Man News, and it's not just any guest, he is a genuine rock star. For over 50 years, he's been melting the faces off of audiences around the world. With his first band, Onyx Sunday, he brought theatrical horror to the musical stage, and as a solo act, he's been a true heavy metal pioneer. This summer, he's touring the country with 665 other bands on the 20th annual Ooze Fest tour. Ladies and gentlemen, Florida Man News listeners, please welcome rock icon Ozzy Osbourne.
Thank you, but it's Asburn, not Assburn. I don't burn people's asses.
My apologies. I'm just a little nervous having one of my musical heroes on the show. Folks may be wondering why you are on Florida Man News. They can obviously tell by your accent that you're not a Florida man.
What accent? I don't have an accent. You have an accent.
Anyway, you have 4 stops on the Ooze Fest tour coming up here in the Sunshine State. July 1st through 3rd in Miami, July 8th through the 10th in Tampa, July 15th through the 17th in Daytona, and July 20th through the 22nd in Jacksonville. That is a lot of shows. I know in the past that you'd play a set every day of the festival, so one on Friday, one on Saturday, and one on Sunday. Are you still doing that on this tour?
No, well, since we're doing the Onyx Sunday reunion thing now, I do a solo set on Friday and Sunday, and Onyx Sunday does a set on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm doing 4 sets.
Wow, so people will have a chance to see you perform 16 times in Florida.
Yeah, in the middle of July, outside in Florida. My manager didn't think that one through, did he? Where's he going to get his money for his 3rd yacht if I drop dead from heat exhaustion, eh?
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Are there still tickets available for all 4 shows?
Yeah, there's tickets available. I wouldn't be on this shitty podcast if it was sold out now, would I?
And where can our listeners get those tickets?
It's at oozefest.com, but you can have to spell it with the umlauts over the U. If you just do a regular U, it goes to some porno site, because my manager didn't think to get that one when he bought the website name.
Oozefest.com with the umlauts over the U for tickets. Great. But Uzi, I hear you and the guys from Onyx Sunday have a new song you want to debut right here on Florida Man News.
Yeah, well, it's not quite a new song. We had to rework some of the lyrics to one of our old songs, because we got into trouble with some comic book people saying they trademarked the name or something.
Ooh, that can get expensive.
Tell me about it. Why you think we're going on tour in our 70s? We should be retired in Miami, not touring it.
Good point. Uzi Asburn, thank you for joining us on Florida Man News.
Asburn.
And here is Onyx Sunday's new old song, Florida Man.
Lost his mind. Is he drunk or is he fine? Is he wearing clothes? Does he chase armadillos? He plays the lotto, paints his house like a rainbow, throws a bucket of crap, shops Walmart in his jockstrap. He is smoking crack in a swamp in backwood shack. On a bath salt spree, eats faces like a zombie. Everyone knows him. Stories travel the world. Wrestled with gators, drank moonshine until he hurled. When his girl is so horny, he better not say no. He will find extra drug stuffed up in her hoo-ha. Everyone knows him. They just shake their heads. Nobody stops him. His notoriety spreads. He just crashed his car right into his favorite bar. Sat down with a beer, waiting for cops to appear.
Once again, that is Onyx Sunday with their song Florida Man. Thanks again to Uzi Asburn for joining us on Florida Man News. And now back to the news. 2 New Jersey women earned honorary Florida woman status after an incident at Disney Springs in Kissimmee earlier this year. The 29 and 31-year-old sisters were 30 minutes late for their dinner reservation and later got drinks at an Irish restaurant. The problems continued when they tried to order an Uber to take them back to their hotel, but realized the batteries on their phones had died. A Disney security guard helped them get an Uber, but the driver refused to take them as they were too intoxicated and he didn't want to deal with cleaning up if they decided to show him what they had to drink. The women then decided to take a taxi, but got into an argument while they waited. The older sister slapped the younger one and called her a bad mom. The younger sister threatened to hit her back. According to a Disney security manager, quote, both females were screaming at each other. One female was sitting on the bench while a second female was standing over her. After attempting to calm the situation, the security manager said one female slapped the other in the face. At that point, both females began punching, slapping, and pulling each other's hair, the sheriff's report said. The security manager pulled the 2 drunk guests apart. Quote, once separated, both sisters ran at each other, slipped in the younger sister's vomit, then fell into the bushes while still fighting. The security manager stated the younger sister ran a few feet away and took off her dress, exposing her breasts. Shortly after, they began to punch each other again. The security manager and another cast member who witnessed the fight were able to separate the 2 again until off-duty deputies arrived on scene. When the deputies questioned the younger sister, the report said she only wanted to talk about how she didn't like her sister's boyfriend. The officers arrested the drunk guests for domestic violence, battery, and disorderly intoxication, all misdemeanors. Neither woman sustained injuries. Quote, they were very intoxicated, the sheriff's report noted, and endangered the safety of other guests and cast members at Disney Springs by physically fighting in a public area, unquote. The state attorney's office declined to pursue criminal charges since both sisters requested the other not be prosecuted, presumably in the spirit of family unity and totally not because their mom threatened to whoop both of them. It's almost time for our final story, but first, Florida Man News is a production of the Florida Podcast Network. You can find the show in your favorite podcast app or at floridapodcastnetwork.com, on Instagram and Twitter at FLPodcastNet, and you can find me at Joel from Florida. That's at Joel from FL. You can join our Florida Podcast Network Facebook group. Just search for FPN Insiders to get more info on Florida Man News and all of our other shows like Florida's Fresh Mix, where host Gerard interviews Florida's movers and shakers. Our executive producer is Jemmy Legagneur. Florida Man News is provided for entertainment purposes only. Any similarity to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. No warranty or professional relationship is implied, and no refunds will be granted. Views expressed on this program are solely the opinions of the individuals who express them and do not imply an endorsement by our sponsors, spouses, families, employers, ourselves, or the Florida Board of Tourism. Thanks for listening to Florida Man News. Here is our final story for the week. One of the worst things that can happen to a bride is being left at the altar by her fiancé. Less embarrassing, but still frustrating, is when a bridesmaid backs out of her role. But when half of a Florida woman's planned bridesmaids canceled on her just 2 months before the wedding, it had the makings for a typical Florida Man News story. However, Molly Knight is a different kind of Florida woman. Instead of turning Bridezilla, she turned to Facebook. Molly posted on a group for brides called Wedding Connection. This group is usually used to find caterers, DJs, and florists, but Molly had a unique request. Her post was titled, "Anyone want to be a bridesmaid in a stranger's wedding in 67 days? Quote, "I just maybe was hoping for people to kind of sympathize a little bit or be like, hey, best of luck," she said. Or, "Would love to if I wasn't so far away. But I never expected so many women to be like, oh yeah, hey there, I got a dress. Oh, I can come. I'll come right now." Comments ranged from, "Where do you need me and when?" to, "I got a flight voucher I need to use. I also like to tear it up on the dance floor." In just a week, Molly received over 700 responses. After sorting through so many volunteers with her sister, the Jacksonville bride-to-be selected another Florida woman, Kylie Cook, to be her backup bridesmaid. When Cook saw Molly's posts, she says, quote, "I felt bad for her. I thought, what would happen if this was my wedding? I'm planning my wedding too, and I thought this is awful. And girls help girls. I said, I'll do it." Cook's fiance seems like a pretty chill Florida man. Quote, "I said, do you want to go to a wedding with me?" And he said, "Sure, yeah. Whose wedding is it?" I said, "Well, technically I don't really know. I just know her name." And he's like, "Okay." And I said, "And also I'm a bridesmaid." He was like, "Oh, okay," Cook said. It sounds like Kylie's fiance already has the attitude of a good husband. Just roll with whatever the wife throws at you. That's the news from the shady side of the Sunshine State. We'll be back next week with another heaping pile of Florida Man News.